All right, y'all, welcome back to the IIC podcast, and you tuned in on this Memorial Day with Cam and your girl.
Gorgeous.
And today we're going to have a few topics, dive into relationships again since, well, at least one of us might be going through a little relationship situation, and probably some current events.
Yep.
So y'all make sure y'all like, y'all comment, y'all subscribe so y'all can stay tuned. Let's go. So I guess I can start off with my relationship situation.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I got some past experiences. I'm kind of like, I say for right now, I'm past that point, I guess, unless I get into another one and it happens again and where we go our separate ways. But I have experienced it multiple times. I actually been divorced twice, so I got some stories.
Okay, well, we're going to get into my story first. Right now, I'm just simply going through a little something that people probably would consider a breakup, right?
Yeah.
I was in a relationship for about 2.5 years, okay? And, you know, with a girl that I loved that I thought that I would marry and be with forever, right? One of those forever stories. But right now, that's not the case because, you know, for multiple reasons, we decided to call it quits, or I feel like she kind of decided to call it quits.
Yeah.
Because I still want the relationship. But, of course, once one person check out and call it quits, the next person will have to follow suit. So
yeah, that's
basically what happened in that situation for me. But nonetheless, you know, I'm still here, you know, ready to move on with my life and everything like that. But I am still have some emotional, you know, attachments to her.
Yeah, I get it. Well, just going off of what you said, I was talking to somebody about relationships the other day, and it came up about stages of grief. And we go through different stages of grief, even when you lose a loved one, like that's no longer with us, or even a loss in friendships. Just think about a best friend or somebody you was your buddy that you known for a long time, and you're no longer friends. Or even in relationships, I feel like you have to accept certain stages that you might go through when it's time might present itself. Especially when it's like that person, you wasn't ready to end it, like you said. And that person, I feel like, has already probably did their stages or accepted that fact. And you're caught off guard, and now you got to go through your stages of accepting what the other person has already accepted. That could be hard too. Because now it's like, I'm late. You know, you got a head start on me. So.
Absolutely. So I agree with the grieving thing too. It's almost like when you lose somebody or you lose a form of somebody. So we was once this way and now things change. Or, you know, even when it's like a breakup, it's like now you're no longer around because it used to be an everyday thing. I know in my situation, I was with my partner every single day. So to deal with somebody on an everyday basis, to not dealing with them barely at all, or maybe just talking on the phone here and there, it's a big switch. So it's very like scary, intimidating, and you know, it can be hurtful. So it did take me, I know everybody have a different healing process. It did take me a couple days to just get to a point where I accepted the fact that this person didn't want what I wanted at the time for whatever reason. Right. And it's no wrong or right in the situation. It's just certain things that she didn't like and we couldn't work that out in time, and vice versa. But it's no ill feelings or hard feelings about it. It's just a relationship that didn't work in the form that we thought it could work at one point. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the gist of that.
Okay. In my case, I had a couple. I don't look at them necessarily as failed marriages. I know some people might look at divorce as something that's failed and it's a bad thing. But for me, it ended up being a learning experience. My first marriage that didn't work out, I was real kind of devastated about it because in Cam's case, it was the same thing. That guy wanted to break up with me. I had to accept whatever it was, and he just wasn't willing to work things out. And so I don't know if it's matter when it's the man breaking up with the woman versus the woman breaking up with the man, but I found it quite, you know, different and not the usual breakup to where the guy wants to break up with you. And I took that really hard because I went through a lot of, what's wrong with me? What about me? What happened? You know, what did I do? And like you said, we just got to accept the fact, go through those stages of grief, accept that this person doesn't want what you want. And I thought that would be a very hard thing to get over. However, I didn't end up having any children with this first guy, my first husband. So it kind of helped ease it a little more because I didn't have to consistently see him. We could kind of just end it and go our separate ways. And I could be okay with not having the closure. But my second time around, I was married to my child's father. So that is a little more difficult because you still have to see this person, interact with this person for the child.
Exactly.
That's a little harder. In this case, it was my idea that we should break up. So I started to feel still that same guilt. Should I do this? We got a child involved. Should I just continue to raise my child? But I think it's very important that each individual find their space, their happiness, and their security, and not allow what you may think affect your children might be for the best. You know, not try to make something that's going to work, not work just cause.
True. I definitely agree with that. Definitely want to find your own peace if it's been highly stressful and you don't, you know what I mean? You do got to manage your stress and things like that. Definitely got to compromise. And my situation was actually the opposite. The first one, because I've been in 2 relationships, not marriages. This is my second serious relationship, the first time that I really wanted to get married. But the first one, I kind of broke it off with her. And then it was just like a karma thing because it was like, oh, no, I'm getting broken up with.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, this is my first time even dealing with something like this. So especially with somebody that I really, really cared about and really, really liked and wanted to be with. Yeah, it left me with a salty taste in my mouth a little bit. But at the same time, it did push me to grow. And yeah, it did leave me feeling some insecurities at times. Like, wow, I know I ain't the baddest thing walking, but you know what I'm saying? I think I got some pretty good qualities to myself. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, it pushes you to develop that self-love because all of us got something about us that's weird or that's like...
we can work on.
That we can work on.
I use the word weird sometimes, but our own uniqueness or even our own flaws that we can stand and just probably do better in our own area. I don't think we should play the blame game so much because what's for you is going to be for you. You'll get in relationships where people will like your flaws. That's what make you you, and they embrace that, whereas others don't. So, you know, you can't really judge it.
That's true. And either way it goes, I feel like a relationship is hard. You know what I'm saying? No matter who you are. Yeah. Like I was just saying earlier, like you got to be willing to dance with a person long term. Somebody that you never had to deal with ever before in life because it's not like, you know what I'm saying, a close family member or something maybe you grew up with, you had to just deal with. Like y'all, 2 people coming together.
Like your siblings. We got to be in the house together, so we got to figure it out. How can we get along? And we don't always get along with the people we grew up with or grew up in the house with. But we didn't have a choice, huh? We had to figure it out. So that's how relationships are, definitely.
Except in this way, you're making a choice to make it work. Right, you know what I'm saying? Once you get a certain age, it's like you guys are choosing to make it work too at the same time. You know, so it's a little different. So you got to be willing to fight, depending on the situation. Sometimes be willing to walk away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you got to. You know, sometimes you might not have that choice. That might be the best bet. So I don't recommend anybody try to stay in something that's just not healthy. So.
Nope.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. Did you get some kind of sign or indication that this person was leading up to breaking up with you? Was there something that came, you know, anything that you could think of that gave you some kind of sign that she might want to do this anymore?
Not really in the beginning. I think that, you know how people say love is blind? Yes. I think that I was blind to a lot of things as far as how she was feeling and some of the signs that maybe she was giving. Like I said, it's only my second relationship. Okay. So some of the, and everybody's different. So some of the signs she was giving, I wasn't really catching on to it like that. I'm just like, oh, she's just frustrated or she's just irritated or stressed or something. We'll get over it like we get over everything else. Right. So no, not really. I didn't really catch on to like the bare end. I think that was the biggest shocker for me. Because I wasn't really catching on, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's this leading to? I didn't know it was leading to her wanting to leave the situation or not being comfortable anymore within the relationship. Or not feeling like she's getting fed or anything like that. So that's how that went.
And then, because I feel like sometimes, right, when people are ready to make that move, they don't really say anything either. So it's kind of hard for you to catch on. You know, it's like if she's not saying a specific thing that trigger those thoughts in your mind, you're thinking everything is a normal argument or a normal irritation. Like the other day, you know, something like this just one of her days.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just don't know. And in my case, I just didn't know. And maybe it was a matter of her being like, okay, this is it. And this is a final thing for me. I just feel like in relationships, communication is very important, but a lot of times understanding each other sometimes just ain't there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how else to put that. But one thing I did realize and I did want to talk about, and I want the viewers to comment and engage with us on, is vulnerability. So in relationships, we open up ourselves and we become vulnerable with a person, and that person becomes our peace, our trust. Ultimately, they can become in control of a lot of the things we feel and do throughout the day. And what I noticed too is on the beginning of this breakup, you know, when you're going through something like a loss, you become vulnerable. So I guess what I really want to say was for people out there that may be going through a loss, maybe going through a breakup or something like that, it may be a vulnerable time in your life, and that's the time where you really want to sit, reflect, get around positive things, get around positive people, something that uplifts you, and stay in your own peace. Don't get around negativity, because those are the times that you are the most vulnerable and you can make a mistake that can lead you somewhere for the rest of your life. Like people, you know, get on drugs, people get into bad relationships, bad situations, people open up themselves to bad people because they're vulnerable. So I just wanted to put that out there. I did experience a moment of vulnerability. I have experienced that with any type of death, any type of loss, and just stay strong out there. If anybody out there feeling vulnerable at this moment because they're going through something, don't worry, you're human, you're not weak. you're just a regular person, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. You got to walk through it. I mean, there's no other way to get to that other side of that experience, because it all ends up being an experience too. Like you say, either break you or make you stronger. I think we're going for the making you stronger side, or making you better than what you were before that situation, or learning something at least out of it, you know, or find some positive.
So I want to ask you a quick question. What are some of the experiences you had within yourself as far as going throughout your breakups that maybe you can help the viewers that may be struggling with the same kind of things?
Well, I went through a lot of different emotions. I went through fear. Like, I went through the fear of having to be alone, not with my partner, like what I'm used to, and doing things on my own that I didn't normally do for myself, or just being able to rely on another person. And now I'm doing these other things myself, just going to the grocery store, something as simple as that. So I dealt with some fear. I dealt with a lot of different insecurities. I kept trying to express self-love as much as I could, but deep down inside, I blame myself for a lot of things. I second-guessed myself, questioned myself a lot. What else I would say? Oh, I became very vulnerable to other men. And so when other men gave me a certain attention, I was like all in almost. Like versus somebody who might be like, get away from me, I don't want to talk to nobody else. No, it's like I wanted other men to make me feel good and make me feel better, because that's what I was missing during those breakups.
Wow, that's different. I think each person go through different things. That opened my eyes to that, because I'm kind of the opposite too. I'm more like, I don't want to deal with nobody now after doing all of that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to shy away. And I guess it depends on the person. I guess some people don't want to be bothered. Some people want to be bothered so they can feel like they want it and need it. And I feel like everybody want to feel like that. So
yes,
it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I prefer the don't want to be bothered, because you find yourself in situations sometimes you can't get out of with just jumping into other relationships with other people, not knowing who those people are. Vulnerability is not always a good judge of character. So I was making bad choices in those men because I was coming from a hurt place too.
Yeah, and that's around that time that you make some bad decisions, when you're coming from the hurt and the pain and the sadness. Yeah. The sadness. And you become more accepting of things and people, and that sometimes don't always be the right move. Sometimes it's better to just get with yourself and by yourself and make your moves that way until you can build yourself back up.
Right. To make those better decisions. Yep.
All right.
So what do you think? Let's just say, because there's like this joke that we say that we don't go back, we don't go backwards. We keep going. How do you gauge if you should go back, or if you should accept if this person wants to come back in your life and try again? Like, what do we do? Do we just say no? I mean, should you go back? Should you?
I personally think it's a personal thing. It depends on what you've been through in your relationships. Of course, I wouldn't advise anybody to go to an abuser or go to somebody that's like the worst ever. But it really just depends. It depends on the individual. Me personally, in my case, as much as I love and care about the person I was with, I know that there are some things within the relationship that I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with that again. Just because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a stress thing. You know what I'm saying? Like keeping the stress levels down. And sometimes dealing with a person, your stress levels are up. It's almost like dealing with kids sometimes. Like you love your kids, but your kids gonna stress you. Yeah. So relationships, they like that when you're dealing with them on an everyday basis. So for me personally, I would take my time. Like once it's over, I'll just take my time, not be so quick to get right back into it, but just feel the person out if you want to feel the person out. Because sometimes it's not easy to just walk away and not talk to a person. Being friends is not a bad thing. For a minute, I was thinking like, oh, I don't want to be, friends with somebody that I done had a whole relationship with and I wanted to marry. Like what? Because mentally you're not used to that. But the truth is, it's okay to be friends with a person that you were once with if y'all can communicate good enough, but it is hard creating that balance, But I would say just take your time. You don't have to rush. Yeah, you can go backwards. I mean, it's people that do it. It's people that get married, divorce, and get married again. So it happens.
I don't know. I guess I'm a little like iffy on that, because I feel like what you once broke up for will come back around again.
And that's a great.
I just think it'll happen again.
And that's a great comment you made. I feel the same way. And this is the reason why I personally feel like if it's not a super bad relationship, work on the relationship. Work on the relationship. Figure out the things you could do to solve those problems. Sometimes you do need just some space. Sometimes you do need understanding. So just work on those things.
Okay. I can see that. I do want to add though, although I went through those breakups, I'm still optimistic. I still have that drive to find what's for me, or not necessarily find, or allow the universe, I should say, to bring or usher in what's for me in that romantic way, be it that it's marriage, be it that it's a companion. I don't put any stipulations on it anymore. Like, this gotta be my husband, or this got to be this way, it got to be that way. I realize you gotta just let people be who they are, and if we find love in that and willing to connect like that, that's a blessing in itself. So I'm still open to that. Yeah, I can say I didn't let that deter me, because sometimes it takes time and it takes growth. And those relationships that didn't work out presents growth and allows you to grow,
Oh, for sure. When you go through that with somebody, any type of relationship with somebody, whether it work or don't work, you're definitely going to grow. You're definitely going to learn how to communicate better. You're definitely going to learn how basically people different. Like, everybody don't think the same. You walking around thinking one way and the next person is thinking another way. And that's just the reality of life. And as much as we want to connect and stuff and be the same people, we're just not the same people. We think differently at different times, process things differently, and everybody's different. And it's really a thing of respect. One thing you do want to get to in all your relationships is respect. You want to feel respected, and you want to continue to give respect no matter what happens. And if y'all do hear anything in the background, like I said, it's the background barbecue memorial edition. So we got some grass cutting going on with y'all. Don't worry about that. So real quick, since we're talking about breakups, I'm thinking about talking about the latest breakup out here as far as current events and circling around social media. So one of the most popular breakups that's circling around is that DDG and that HALLE, Mermaid.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever watched The Mermaid. I haven't, the new Mermaid movie that came out, Halle Bailey. Okay. Halle Bailey and DDG were once a thing. They were a couple. So to give you the backstory on DDG is from Pontiac, Michigan.
Ain't that her baby daddy? That's her whole baby daddy.
It is her baby daddy, but of course, before you become the baby daddy, you got to be something else, right? Right. So they were, I guess, in a relationship, ended up having a baby together. Once a cute Hollywood story, right? Mm-hmm. Halle Bailey, I don't know her total background story. DDG's, just so you know, he came up off YouTube, from my understanding. Then he kind of went to the music world, things like that. I don't know about Halle Bailey, but I know she ended up going into movies, right? Now the tea with that is basically circling around the net, allegedly. It's just an allegation that DDG basically put his hands on her and she got a restraining order on him. Also, I guess she was upset because he was putting their son on the internet and I don't think she wanted him on the internet. And it's something supposed to be going on with the custody situation. Of course, if you got a restraining order on somebody, of course you're going to try to take the baby too, right? Right now, they going through a whole dispute as far as definitely supposed to be a restraining order out on them. Because basically the story from what I heard and read was that they was in a car. Okay. They got into a dispute over the son or something like that. And he basically bruised her up. So it was pictures online of her being bruised on her arm, I believe. Maybe her face, I'm not sure. So he was supposed to jump on her, basically. Okay. And she's supposed to went and got that paperwork done. He ain't supposed to be near her, okay? So that's the whole tea and the whole backstory of that, amongst her being with another guy who is an artist. I believe he is a rapper or a singer. I got to look up his name, but if y'all in the comments know his name, y'all can put it in the comments. Like I said, I haven't followed it to a T, but she got a whole new boo thing and everything like that. So a lot of people were saying basically Halle was dirty in the first place because she was talking to somebody else, but I don't know, y'all. So what you think about that? What you think about the breakup? What you think about the abuse? What you think about the restraining order? What you think about the kid basically being taken away from DDG is what it's starting to look like.
I did hear about he went on the internet, I think, and made like some kind of outreach. Like he was reaching out. He like, I just want you guys to know that it's not me. She's keeping my son, right? I believe.
From my understanding, all I seen was he was getting upset online and with people, you know, he do live stream, people making certain comments, and he basically trying to state his case. Like, look, all I want is my son. You know, of course he's trying to prove his innocence. Like, you know, most people do.
I did see that. I did see where he was like trying to let people know it's not that he does not want to be there. She's not allowing him to see his son. But see, I know it was something to it because I think this is right around when it first happened or when they first came out about it. So I know it was something like, why don't she want you to see your son? That's a very important thing to the story. Now, the allegations, I mean, who knows? But that raises a flag. Why? Because, I mean, do people just wake up one day and be like, I don't want you to see my child anymore?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I personally don't know. Of course, these are all allegations. We're just going off what we hear on the internet, right, y'all? Because that's what we do at iicpodcast. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like, no, a person not just going to get up and say, I don't want you to see the kid. I think it was definitely some drama there. It was definitely
what's the story?
Some stuff going on there. And of course, Halle Bailey has a reputation to upkeep. So I don't think she going to really want to come out with what probably went on in a relationship. But everybody is hinting at the abuse situation. But I also know that sometimes people do, on the flip side, get into their feelings and they might just be like, hey, I don't want to deal with you. I don't want you around, or I don't want you around the kid. Maybe I think you just not a good fit. So it could be multiple things because we don't really actually know. But from the sounds of it, you know, they paint him to be a bad guy. And, you know, I really kind of hate that for DDG because I just seen where he come from and how he came up online, and I wish it was a better outcome. I don't want this to be the end of him. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's the end for people. You know what I mean? When they get into those type of situations, career-wise.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, they're both young. You know, they're both still young, and people make mistakes. I wish the best for both Halle Bailey and DDG, and, you know, much success to them both. But it really look like he's getting a little beat up a little bit about that because it's like, you know, she the mermaid.
Right. And domestic violence is like never a go. So, I mean, as soon as they say that about you, it's a wrap.
Especially in the public. Like, it's just unfortunate, you know, because we all been there at some point in time. But when it's a public relationship and you make a mistake, just like the Chris Brown situation, which that was a bit much. But to this day, people still, when they want to attack him, they still bring that up. It's been years. It took him so long to just get out of that. So sorry, DDG. Also, Halle Bailey. Hope y'all get through that sooner than later.
Another current event.